can see
it. Not yet. Good morning, Ross. Or good afternoon, good evening.
Good afternoon. How are things?
Long time no chat.
Well, you got the news you wanted to get, so all's good.
Yeah. I was telling one of the guys I work with yesterday, the day before, be careful what you wish for. You might just get it. So, what did I get? Another 10 hours work to produce a new model?
Yay!
Morning, folks. Welcome to another session of miniature painting. Just to recap what we did last week, we have Bob spelled backwards, and Kate. And these are what they look like finished off. And if that joke just goes over your head, watch some Blackadder. I'm really happy with how they turned out. Really happy actually with the texturing on the base. Don't know if you can see that. Extra crackly goodness. If you're looking for that kind of effect, don't let the polyfiller or spac filler quite dry before you put the Agrellan earth on it and then force dry it. I'm luckily enough that my outdoor paint booth has a heater in it so I can get stuff hot. So today's shenanigans is a little bit more Interceptor. We have some new and improved models, and I'm going to throw some paint in their general direction, see how they come up. So we'll get into it. I am joined by Maddie, Radio Free Earth Dawn. Say hi, Maddie.
Hi, Maddie.
And Ross.
Good morning to you all.
Okay, Ross, you're not going to be around for very long though, are you?
No, about 25 minutes.
Yeah, right. What's news in the wider world of Fasa, Ross?
What's news in the wide world of Fasa? We're going to have a whole bunch of new stuff that's going to land before the end of the year. Both in Earth Dawn 1879 and Interceptor. And, you know, who knows, perhaps even Demon.
Perhaps, if I stop voting myself more work.
Right, did your, you know, you might get what you wish for line make it to the broadcast, or was that just before?
Oh no, it's in. Yeah. I shouldn't laugh while I'm painting. Are we allowed to talk about what's coming up for some of those products? Like 1879? What's coming for 1879? Because that'll be of particular interest to me.
Well, at long last, the two companions books will make it out from the printer. After spending several months at our standard traditional printer and not getting a delivery date from them, we pulled the job and went to another one. They've been rumoring, hinting that they're just about done with the two books and the two posters that were part of that print job. So hopefully that will be available to folks to ship out to our backers and up on the shop. Hopefully in a couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks.
Better than a couple of months.
Yep.
And the development work on the Fort Alice source book is so close to being done. And that will go into edit and then layout, and then that and the second second adventure will be ready for kickstart and off to the printer again. And hopefully we'll have a more regular stream of 1879 product coming out over the next 6 to 12 months. Brad Decker is doing a great job in corralling the work that has been done, getting the new work completed to finish the books, and that'll be great.
Yeah.
So those of you who are creating Samset armies and 1879 armies will have something to use them for, hopefully in the near future.
Oh, I'm excited by that. I may or may not have asked Martin and Paul for some more of that stuff.
Well, I've seen skeletons go by on other channels, correct?
Yeah.
A couple. I haven't yet posted pictures of the zombies and ardites that came with, because they're not quite finished yet, but soon.
Don't forget your controllers.
I didn't have any. There weren't any available from RPE when I placed my order.
All right. We'll get that sorted out.
Yes, indeed.
There's a number of things that are not quite right with that range. And there's no British cavalry. So.
Got all kinds of cavalry, including Sikh cavalry.
Oh, the Sikh cavalry's there. It's just the other stuff isn't. So we'll get that sorted out. So what's happening for Earth Dawn?
Earth Dawn, we have lots of products in the pipeline, the one closest to being finished, and it's a race between the Vascosia source book and Fort Alice source book as to which one will be through development and into edit and layout first. And then for both Earth Dawn and 1879, we have the graphic novels that will both finish up. Halfpenny Pie's second case is rapidly drawing to a conclusion, and Champions Challenge Volume 2 is also going to be completed probably end of September-ish for both of them.
And this is the work that Don Higgins is
Correct.
heading up, yeah.
Those will join the Kickstarter campaigns whenever all of the products meet the triggering criteria.
So yeah, cool. Just a quick shout out to Don Higgins, who also runs a live stream. I think is it Thursday, Ross?
No, it's Wednesday.
Wednesday, sorry. Well, it's Thursday in Australia, but it's Wednesdays in the US. 2 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah. So if you can get along and check that out, do so, because it's good fun. So obviously the work continues on Interceptor, because that's what I'm showcasing today, is the revised miniatures.
Having seen some shots where the old and the revised are in the same picture, I think folks are going to be excited about the revised fighters. They look really good. So pat yourself on the back there, Dan.
I would, but I'd probably throw a shoulder out. Yeah, Givens and druthers. I wish I knew today what I wish I knew 6 months ago what I knew today, if you know what I mean. But it's a learning journey, yeah. We're all on that. So what's on your painting desk, Ross?
Nothing at the moment. I guess the last thing I did was some blackwash for 1879 figures to be photographed. But that was a while ago.
That doesn't really count.
Yeah, well. No, I have a very checkered painting past. While still in college, this would have been, 1979, 1980.
Right.
We, as part of our wargaming club, we would visit SBI headquarters every now and then and help them play test games. And then there was the Complete Strategist. I guess that was one of the game stores in New York City at the time. And I think I made it in there and bought primary colors and a few figures and painted them way back, back then.
Mm.
And I still have them, and they sat on my desk at school. And then it was painting Traveler 15 mil figures, and these were true 15s, not 18s, not 20s.
Yeah, right.
But true 15s, and again, didn't know anything about dry brushing or black washing or anything like that. But we used them and played with them. And then I really didn't have time for much painting. But my collection of metal continued to grow. You go to a convention and you come back with more than you ought to have acquired.
That's a good way of putting it.
And in the mid-'80s, Jordan and I went to UK for various reasons, visiting the BBC concerning Doctor Who, and we had a tour of Games Workshop at the time in Nottingham.
Yeah.
And we were told to just take as much as we wanted.
Oh boy.
So we were at our weight limits on the bags on the return from that trip. Still having no time to paint any of this stuff, of course. But,
of course not. The perils of running a successful business.
And then, so we get to the late 80s, early 90s, and a great friend and one of our first editors at FASA, John Wheeler, had to go in for open heart surgery and needed to raise some cash. And he sold me his metal collection. So my stash of metal grew by a couple of magnitudes. But this was also the time when I was, making very good money at Virtual World Entertainment. So I hired a guy, Ira Boucher, to start painting my figures.
Yeah.
And, I got the ceramic tiles to act as my bases, carved off the adhesive, gave that to him, gave him in units of 12. These are all mostly 25s at this point, of everything. And that lasted for a year plus.
Right.
Unit plus a week. It had to have lasted for longer than that because I have more than 50 dozen units painted. But sadly, they just sit in the drawers. Moving from Chicago to Portland, did some damage, but not too bad. But you know, they're stored nicely and safely. And then when FASA shut down, I inherited all of the most of the professionally painted figures that we had for photography. So I've been taunting you with some of those.
Yes, you have. I got those museum scale Crimson Skies fighters.
Yeah, no, I think all of the museum scales were actually, I think they were painted in the UK and shipped
Yeah.
over to us to fondle.
Put on your desk and admire. Yeah, I haven't worked up the courage to have a go at them yet. I'm still working on the little ones.
Morning, Dan.
Hey, how are you?
Good. I'm in the same boat. I still haven't worked up the courage to paint an old armor cast Titan I've had for nearly 20 years.
Yep.
Jeez. And I know I've got samples of all of those in the barn.
I was watching a YouTube video. There's this guy called Squigmar. He does a painting thing, and he bought the Tau. No, I can't remember what it is, but it is the biggest model that Forge World do.
Oh yeah, I know that big thing. Yeah.
£2,500, I think, to buy, and I think the thing's 80 or 90, possibly even a meter long, and there's thousands upon thousands of parts, and the kit actually comes with 4 full-size Tau plastic kits in it to go in. I think it's a lander or something like that.
Yeah, it's a great big. It's almost like one of those wing-style planes.
Yeah. Like, we're not in the realms of miniatures anymore, there, are we?
Well, also in the company archive is, I think it's a 1/12 scale Crimson Skies plane used at conventions,
Yeah.
and the 1/12 scale Mad Cat.
That's what I was going to ask about. What happened to that? You still
in its transport case.
you still got it?
Yep.
Because that is epic.
I think 2 were made. I've got one that has it's in a shipping case, so it must have made it to shows.
Yeah.
And hopefully, because it was sort of a vinyl resin, hopefully it hasn't collapsed in on itself.
Hopefully. One of these days you're going to have to open some of these boxes and check.
Like I said, I opened a few back in February and found some of that resin stuff.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to let you forget that you owe me a Renegade Legion patch.
Well,
You'll get to it.
I'll search diligently as time goes on.
Yeah, you'll get sick of me nagging at some point.
Well, God help you if I actually find it.
Yeah, I can only imagine what it's actually sitting in there nestled with. I was a little bit less mean to the RPE guys than I was going to be. I backed off some of that order. I think I chopped 50 items out of it. I think it was 110 by the time I shipped it off.
But it's still all mostly mechs, though, right?
Oh no, this was the remainder of the Crimson Skies fighters. So 2 each of those, plus the singles of the auto gyros, and what's the sci-fi range called?
Critical mass.
Critical
There you
mass.
go.
Yeah. So
You win.
Manny gets the prize. One each of those armies.
Did they list the resin vehicles for those?
Yep.
Okay.
So they're in the order. And the walkers. There's one faction has a bunch of walkers, like big battle suits. I think they're called power armor or something. Yeah. So a bunch of those, and one mech, because I had to get one more.
Well, the last time I was there, Paul was casting tread sections for those.
Yeah, right.
But that was 2 years ago now.
And I'll give them a breather so they're not cursing my name before I do the next tech readout.
Yeah, but you still aren't our.
No, not even close. I'm not even going to try for that.
I don't know if I should say his name or not, but he was a very prolific orderer for a while of all things Battletech.
Battletech, yeah. Try not to mumble too hard at the fact that it's been 2 years since that Kickstarter and I'm still waiting. I understand that the world has changed and they don't have control over everything. And we're going to face the same problems with Interceptor, I think.
Well, the key is to only offer what you can actually deliver, what you have in hand and have a plan for.
Yes. You think they've learnt that lesson?
They were on a wild ride there.
Yep, they certainly were.
No, I think for Interceptor we understand just about everything except for how long it would take to get from the dock in China to our fulfillment place in Tennessee.
Why Tennessee? That seems strange. It's not really centre to anything.
Ask yourself where FedEx
Okay.
was.
Right.
Shipping rates in the U.S. for UPS and to some degree FedEx are rated on the distance traveled, so countries divided up into zones.
Mm-hmm.
And how many zones you are away from, origin point to destination point will determine some of the shipping rate.
Yeah.
So picking a place in the middle so that you have the evenest rate to all customers is important.
Is the trend in the US still that people are migrating southeast?
Well, I don't know that anybody is rushing to move to the hottest COVID states at the moment. As climate changes, winters aren't as severe as they once were, kind of thing. But it is still you can wear short sleeves and shorts all year round. That's not a bad thing. Cost of living is less than California or New York or New England. Again, not a bad thing. Just depends what choices you want to make.
That's the choice that Clee made. Except for some reason this winter's been colder up there than it's been down here.
It's finished. Yours has got 3 months to go.
wouldn't call what Dan is living through actual winter. So,
Yeah, maybe not compared to some parts in the US. Yeah.
well, having lived in Chicago for 35 years,
Oh, that'd be exacerbated by the Great Lakes, wouldn't it? Isn't it made worse?
yes and no. Depends which way the wind is blowing. Sometimes the lake acts as a moderating force, so it doesn't get as hot or as cold. But when the right kind of wind is blowing off the lake, then you get what we call lake effect snow. And that's when you can get, 2 to 3 feet dumped on you on a weekend. And then have the temperature drop to below zero. And that's below 0 Fahrenheit, not Celsius, for a week.
The city stops.
Yes and no. I mean, the great thing about Chicago and the Midwest is it's so flat that the foolhardy will go out and do it. But clearing it all out is a lot easier than having to deal with hills and that sort of thing. When the school system has 500 to 600,000 kids enrolled, and you have both parents working, they're really loath to shut the schools unless absolutely necessary, because that means somebody has to stay home and childcare has to be arranged and all that kind of good stuff. So there's all kinds of hidden factors and decisions in how things go.
Snow plows on the front of school buses.
Garbage trucks.
Garbage trucks. There you go.
And God help you if you live on a tertiary street. There you're basically you're sitting inside until things melt enough to see.
You're right. Yeah.
I think there's actually YouTube videos of people just driving through the streets of Chicago during the last storm last year. And it's a sight to behold.
Is that what prompted the move?
One of them, the main one being, gee whiz, the work that I was doing at the time didn't require me to be in Chicago. I could be anywhere where there's an internet connection.
Right.
Wife grew up on the West Coast, wanted to return to the West Coast, had family out here.
Yeah.
So we moved.
There you go.
Whereabouts on the West Coast are you?
20 miles east of Portland, in Oregon.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
So we're right at the mouth of the Columbia River Gorge, which is spectacular. And the only thing we've had to worry about for the last couple of years is forest fires.
Yeah, there's been a few serious ones in that area, hasn't there?
Yeah, we've had a great summer with the wind blowing east predominantly, just until this last weekend, where wind came from the south and we're getting all the smoke from California right now. So it's a little hazy and you can smell it. You don't have clear sunshine, you have apocalyptic looking sunshine.
That was the case for us, I think, 2 summers ago.
Yeah, that's where we were 2 summers ago. We were only 3 miles from the ignition point. Yeah.
Sunny days.
Yeah, that's closer than we got. The closest fire got to us was about 5 miles 3 years ago and 10 miles last year.
Yeah. It actually went past us. It started 3 miles away and then went sort of parallel to where we were living. So it was really touch and go. If we'd had a wind change, we would have lost everything. So.
Well, one unknown about the Columbia River Gorge is we get ferocious winds, either predominantly east or predominantly west, depending on the season. We had an east wind, and we were actually evacuated a because
Right.
the fire moved, I think, 20 miles in one night.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's scary
Anyway.
stuff.
yep. And on that pleasant note, I shall have to say so long.
Thanks, Ross. Safe drive to the airport.
Yes, indeed. And listen to you guys or speak with you guys next week.
Okay.
Till then. Bye-bye.
Catch you later. What's happening this morning, Clay?
A lot, actually. I'm finally getting around to finishing off the bases for those skirmishes.
Cool.
After the first lot of guys I based, I went, nah, I've got to change this. This is a bit slow.
Right.
So as per the 28th stuff, I did all of my basing material on those bases you printed me.
Right.
And I painted the base of the miniature with my little sand texture, and then glued the whole lot, and now I'm just patching in around it all.
Alright.
And it's all been airbrushed too, so I don't have to paint too much either. I can just touch it up and then do the highlights and bits and pieces.
So you're sitting there working on that now?
Yep. Just got a few of these to do. A few more bases to go.
Is Rach back?
What's that?
Is Rach back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's gonna step out in a minute.
Hey, Maddie, did you get a chance to have a play with that polyfiller?
I did.
Did it work?
I'm still dialing that in.
Right.
Wetness of the material.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes forever to dry, and other times it's better, more easy to work.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I cheat because I can slap it on as wet as I like and then stick it outside in the spray booth and turn the heater on and dry it out.
Yeah, I don't have that, and I need my hair dryer for drying hair.
Beard.
Oh, yes.
Ah. So canopies. Do I do the canopies first, or do I do the blackwash first?
Depends. Do you want any blackwash on the canopies?
I do, but I don't. I want to go for a particular effect on the canopies, which the blackwash will make a mess of. So I'll tidy the white up and throw the blackwash on. And
Those ones you sent me where you just done the grey and wash with the canopies, they look particularly good. Just grey with the wash, I reckon.
like that,
Sorry?
like what's on the screen at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that looked, because I mean it's not tantalising in terms of colour and intricacies that you can draw the eye to, but it gives you that realism that that's actually what's going to happen in space when you're down to the dollar. We're not going to have all these fancy ass ships and colours everywhere. They're going to be fucking grey.
Yeah. Yeah, this is year 3 of the conflict. Yeah, that was literally just a null oil wash and a dry brush.
Yeah. just to see the details in them.
Yeah, it was just to pick the detail out. And then when I posted the photo of those ones versus the original ones, it was like universally, oh yeah, we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. I liked the grime marks you put on those Crimson Sky Fighters on the wings and stuff.
Oh, the
Like that wind-drawn
The-
grime stuff.
yeah, the missing paint, like the silver flashes.
Yeah, and also just like they'd been obviously flying a fair bit and dirty, and you
Mhm.
could tell that was just looked really good.
Yeah.
Don't know that counts for space stuff as much, but
Well, these are supposed to be, well, they might be multi-role, so they might be atmospheric.
yeah.
So there's something to be said for the fact that they might actually end up in an atmosphere and get all sooty, and because re-entry into an atmosphere is going to be pretty brutal on whatever it goes through.
Yeah, exactly.
Is the camera angle better?
Oh yeah, that's good.
I noticed before that I must have knocked it pretty heavily.
Yeah.
So you painting this morning, Matty?
Got a couple of things to do, yeah.
Yeah, cool. More zombies?
I finished my zombies. Aside from basing, I need to do some highlights to my Ardite troops.
Right.
And I don't know, I'm kind of not happy with the way that the weapons look, because I don't know what the hell they look like aside from Space Marine Terminator Storm Bolters. G'day, James.
Hey, good morning to the Antipodean Consortium. How are you all?
Good, thanks. You missed the boss.
Oh, was he on?
He was.
Oh, there you go.
What are you up to this fine Friday evening?
Just feeding the animals, aka the children.
Right.
Running. Right.
What are you feeding them to?
Well, since you put it like that, I was feeding them rather than feeding them to something. But maybe next Friday I might twist it around a little. And now that's just been recorded, so I'm probably going to go drop the soap in the shower with Mr. Big who's in with the waters. Who knows?
James, meet Bubba. Yeah. Did you find your miniatures?
No. We've had storms and excessive heat, so I'm probably going to have a play around on the weekend and see if I can dig them out. I'm sure they're somewhere in a generally nondescript box, which really describes several dozen nondescript boxes in storage. So,
Well, I was just winding Ross up about that, so I don't feel bad about winding you up about it.
I wouldn't feel bad about winding me up about it either.
It's good.
Maddie
fun.
winds me up all the time. It's just how it is. That's looking good. That's one of the new designs.
Yeah, look, it's the same basic shape. It's just scaled up a little bit, and then it's had a whole bunch of detail thrown at it. So,
Yeah, but I think the detail makes it pop. It's good.
yeah.
Easier to paint.
Yeah, look, I'd have to say yes, simply because it's easier to see what you're doing. On the other models, because there was no real surface detail on them, you just had to make stuff up. And, you know, straight lines with a paintbrush isn't the easiest thing in the world, especially when you've got tremors like I have. So having detail you can rest up against, run the brush up against, is a heck of a lot easier. I've made a huge mess back here.
You can always Rolling Stones it and just paint it black. Be done.
Isn't that what you were just saying, Clee? Just go grey. They'll be fine.
Yeah. Welcome to the capitalist society.
Yeah.
Everything shades of grey. Wait a minute.
Shades of grey and race to the bottom. Yeah.
There'd be about 50 of them, right?
Yeah.
Well, that used to be the way it was back in the good old early days of black and white monitors and grayscale monitors.
Yeah.
64 shades of grey, 128, 256, whatever.
If you were really lucky, you got one of the orange monitors, which was orange and black, or you got one of the green ones, which was green and black. I'll tell you all a funny story. I was working, the previous company I worked on, we were working on a Mac product. It was actually a Mac port of their primary product. And so we all had these iMacs to work on. Now these things were 32-inch 4K all-in-one computer monitor type things, which Apple specialised in the time. This is around the 2012, 2013 sort of era. And they were rip-snorting machines, despite the fact that the operating system is a dog's breakfast. Anyhow, guy I was working with was a really interesting character, and he used to like doing things like playing Vim golf. And for the uninitiated, Vim is an editor where you use different key combinations to invoke different modes in the editor. So you can do everything without taking your hands off the keyboard. You don't need to go for the mouse. And Vim Golf is about accomplishing something in the editor with the least number of keystrokes possible. Anyhow, so this is the kind of thing he used to like doing. And he had a screen mode on this iMac. So picture this. It's 32-inch 4K monitor that is displaying 80 by 25 in green monochrome with serious pincushion, because he could.
Speaking as a Mac user, that's horrifying.
It was pretty damn funny, because everybody else that walked past was horrified as well.
I get the attraction of Vim Golf though, but
Yeah.
that's just because I'm a Unix head, so it is what it is.
Yeah. But yes, all of those lovely pixels just going to replicate something from 20 years prior.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because you've got to put a good 4K monitor to use,
Absolutely. We ended up, that particular cubicle ended up, I don't know how we managed it, but we all ended up as keyboard snobs, and I think four of the 5 keyboards in the area were either cherry blue or cherry brown, and so there were points in the day where you couldn't hear yourself think. And then one of the other guys got a bit jack of that, and he brought his old IBM buckling spring in. He couldn't hear our keyboards over his. It was officially the noisiest end of the office.
Keyboards ever made.
Those buckling springs, they're bulletproof.
Yeah, they're just amazing.
Yeah. I've got my Leopold behind me, which is a cherry blue, and it's got a steel backplane. So it's really, really good ergonomically. It's really good on your hands, but it's not really good on your ears.
Yeah, my first portable was one of the IBM portables.
Mm.
You know, whopping 640k RAM and twin 5.25-inch floppy disks. It was amazing, but it was not really portable. If you've ever seen pictures of them, that they are luggables. And I used to walk to work with my portable, and I swear by the time I got to work, the arm that was holding this thing was a good inch longer than the other arm. Just the weight on these things.
They weren't so much portables as relocatables.
When Compact came out with theirs, it was just like a godsend. It shaved like a whole 5 pound off the thing, but you know, the thing still weighed like 30 pound. But
we were talking about desktop replacements yesterday. You used to carry around a desktop replacement laptop. So this thing was 7 kilos. So you'd blow your carry-on weight if you took it in carry-on, just with the laptop.
I'm running a M1 Mac Mini now, connected to my 4K monitor, and even though it's just the base 8 gig model, because I couldn't be bothered spending a large amount of money on it, it's still actually more powerful than my high-end MacBook Pro, which is kind of terrifying. But the sheer scale of computing power now is just getting stupid.
Yeah, when you think about how much power's in your phone.
Same processors basically, but yeah, from an Apple perspective at least, anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
You think about what they use to do the calculations, to do the Voyager missions and everything like that, and then you have a look at what you're holding onto in your phone. That's ridiculous.
So is that the level of technology in Interceptor? Or are we vacuum tubes and wires and solderables, pluggables and solderables?
I think you'd need to ask Todd that.
Aetherstream Interceptor, the plug and solder spaceship game.
Yeah. We're going to sell you this game IKEA style, and we're going to give you a bunch of parts and an Allen key and some roughly translated instructions.
And there'll always be pieces left over, no matter how hard you try.
That's right. I seem to recall getting a lamp from IKEA, and the instructions said that you should be 2 people while assembling this. And I went, cool. I can work on my schizophrenia.
For a lamp? They seriously said that?
Yep.
Wow.
It was a floor lamp, to be fair, with, you know, the bowl of the lamp pointing towards the ceiling, but still. So, good news, my laser cutter is up and running. So I'm hoping to do some buildings. Mind you, with the workload I've got this weekend, that seems somewhat unlikely.
Just remote control it.
Yes, my VNC server installation didn't go well last night, so I need to go and figure out what I've done wrong there. So once that's playing nice, then I will be able to remote control it. The only problem is, I'm gonna have to, if I'm going to remote control it, I'm going to have to put a webcam on it, because things have a habit of catching fire, which is not good.
So what faction is this that you're painting up?
So this is Terran Commonwealth.
Okay, it is Commonwealth. Yep.
These are the Koth bad guys. Koth. But I love them. I've spent 6 months on and off with these designs.
Well, these are looking like superb.
Well, thank you. I take that as a real compliment. Because I can tell you that that's not the feedback that we got out of the Kickstarter from the previous variants. The words started with S, but they were very different words.
So you've been doing any gaming, Maddie?
I'm not a wargamer, to be honest. I just like painting.
1879 still running?
Yes, we played and recorded a session of that on Wednesday. More episodes in the pipeline.
Everybody should
So where are your
listen to it.
players
It's
now
good fun.
in the campaign? Have they crossed through the rabbit hole, or are they... Sorry, I've been slack and haven't actually...
That's all right.
Cool.
Those episodes haven't come out yet. We, as of last playing session, spoilers, we just left Fort Alice.
Excellent.
And they have no idea where they're going. Neither do I.
I haven't got anywhere near that far, and that's very apparent.
Well, the circumstances will become clear in a few episodes.
They're still dealing with a dead private and a bunch of angry big cats. And a Scotsman who brags that he can kill the troll before the troll can do anything and then proceeds to miss. Sorry, I laughed really hard at that.
Well, the wildlife there is fairly fierce.
Yes, the Scotsman's pretty drunk. It's all good stuff. It's all extremely entertaining. Well, I find it extremely entertaining.
I hope it continues to be so for you.
Thanks. Hey, did you end up finishing Sky Pirates? Or did you lose interest?
No, I finished it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, cool.
It was an interesting book.
You know there's 2 sequels?
Yes, but they weren't available for purchase in the Booktopia app because I bought it from an Australian company.
Right.
So I'm going to have to track down another app and another buying them place.
Well, Smashwords has them. In most formats. But anyhow, I'm glad you enjoyed it, because I get really nervous about recommending things to people because my taste isn't always the same as everybody else's.
It was good bedtime reading.
Okay. We just leave that there. Move on.
Some interesting dreams, that note.
Yeah, fair enough. The sequels are pretty
Is this
good, by the way.
R-rated channel or PG? Or?
Well, those are R-rated books, believe me. But the reason it came up is because the background and setting of those particular books is very 1879-ish. There's some similar conceits, if you like. So.
You painted all of those so far today?
Yep.
Wow.
What? 2 colours.
Well, yeah, but still. I can see 6 of them sitting there in the corner.
These. Where am I?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there's 10 in total.
More than 6. More than 6. Yeah, there's a couple that were just out of the picture.
Yeah.
Nice. Fantastic.
So I spent a great deal of time this week in the 3D editor. Great deal of time.
Working on those ships.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll have to be doing something through the interminable meetings, don't I?
They're getting a bit hardcore at the moment. I'm just so fucking sick of it.
Yep.
It's just epic wastes of time.
Yep.
That VPM Kaizen was the biggest fucking waste of time I've seen recently.
Yep.
4 days, 6 hours a day or something, 5 hours a day, with about 20 people involved or something.
That's right. Yep.
And we get 2 or 3 weeks out of it, and they've planned completely the wrong release.
Yeah.
Serious.
Yep.
Then was there a release manager involved in this process?
Yeah,
Yep.
there was lots of people involved in that, right through.
Wow.
Everyone.
Yep.
Everyone was involved.
Yep.
And
To be very, very fair to the project manager, she just got steamrolled.
yeah, it's not her fault at all. No, I feel this is coming from the top down. They don't know what
They're doing.
they're doing. They don't know what they're releasing. They don't know what they're doing. And it just sends the whole team on a bloody wild goose chase.
Mm-hmm. It'd be okay if it was one wild goose chase, but it's many.
Using Agile?
Yeah. Like
Agile waterfall, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Agfall? Or is it Watergile?
Watergile, I think, is the official,
Watergile.
semi-official, official term for that. Yeah.
Yeah, Watergile.
We're so agile, we managed to replan the release 3 weeks after they planned the release.
That's right.
Isn't that what
I
agile?
don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand why. Like, they product placement. They make numbers up, and they're surprised that we don't hit them. Your team is going to be this fast. Really? How do you know that? Well, because if they're not that fast, they're not going to meet the deadline. So, you've just made my paint for me. Let's do agile with fixed scope, fixed team, fixed timelines. No.
Same old story everywhere.
That's it.
Here in the States, we just throw money at it, and it still doesn't actually fix the problem most of the time. So, but hey,
Well, the funny story of this week was just that there's budget spare. So we're talking about calendar year budgets. So we're heading for September in a hurry, and there's a bunch of budget left over because they were planning on hiring a whole bunch of additional resources, and they've been unsuccessful in the marketplace attracting that particular talent. So there's a big pool of money left over, and they went, shit, we have to spend it. Now, like every organisation, there's a number of issues that the organisation faces that makes it difficult for it to get software out. Do they spend that money on resolving some of that? Nope. We have infrastructure problems. We need some more infrastructure, or we need the infrastructure improved. Did they spend the money on that? Nope. What did they do? They resurrected a project that was put on a shelf 18 months ago. They're drafting in a third-party organisation as a contract to pick this particular product up and deliver it by the end of the year. And I was intimately involved in that particular product up until the time it was put on that shelf. And they came to me and they said, so what state is it in? And I said, it's a rough proof of concept. And they went, oh, so it isn't ready to deliver? No. What's that going to take? Well, we're going to have to do some more proofs of concept, and we're going to need a solution architect to actually figure out what the solution is. Oh. It's okay, we'll get it done by the end of the year, no problem. I find it all very difficult to deal with. Instead of making our lives easier, making us more productive, more efficient, happier, whatever, they just continue the chaos.
I can empathise.
And
sorry to say.
Yeah, and because of the position that Clea and I are in, the shit falls on us all the time. One of my other colleagues summed it up beautifully. He said, you are the lightning rod in this particular shitstorm.
Better wear rubber boots.
I mean, full body rubber
And
suits is required.
Go and dress like the Michelin Man. If anyone asks, you can claim it's a Ghostbusters pastiche or something, but whatever.
Stay puffed. And we've shed so many resources this year, it is not funny. People are just jack of it and they're moving on. You know, you normally expect a 5% sort of turnover. You really don't expect 65 or 70%.
That's savage.
It is very,
brutal.
very, very bad.
Yeah, and that's just in the last year, isn't it, really?
We've lost 4 in the last 8 weeks.
Yeah.
You just stop and think about that for a minute. That is numbing.
Makes me wish I'd held out as a contractor.
Nah. Our goal is to get you to actually be able to do the role that they asked you to do. If we can do that, things will be better. Just what exactly I'm supposed to do, I haven't figured out yet.
Ship product easy.
Well, I know how enthusiastic Quinton is about it.
Yeah, right. Have you talked to him about it?
No.
I haven't talked to him about it.
I just know from the fact that he didn't clear his calendar that he's not that enthusiastic.
Got any free time till the end of the year, and suddenly he's got to find free time.
Yeah.
the end of the year.
Yeah, that's not going to work. And particularly at the commitment level that they're asking, because they want it. He and I, last time we'd spoken about it, he and I discussed a 3-month MVP. And so this is what they're hanging their hats on, the fact that we said 3-month MVP and they've got 3 months to the end of the year. And they're like, oh, we can have MVP by the end of the year. Okay, sure. But Faith and Barry were very phlegmatic about it, so we'll see.
Faith turned up.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Really interesting.
We've probably
She
just...
left the consulting side of the business. So,
Right, okay. She was leaving it to Fred, wasn't she?
yeah.
Yeah.
And she was going to focus on the product and other things.
There you go. We're probably boring everybody silly,
Yeah.
talking shop.
So what sort of games? 1879?
Which part of it?
The style of game, rather than the history.
It's steampunk, but there's 2 games. There's a role-playing game and there's a miniatures game.
Oh yeah.
So the miniatures game's the same set of rules as Demon World. Effectively. Well, it will be. I've been told in no uncertain terms all changes I make to Demon World have to be reflected in 1879. No pressure.
Yes, they do, Dan.
They do.
Not that I have any say, but yes, they do.
You could, James. You could have say.
Nah, Ross has got under control. It's all good. The 1879 game is it's the steampunkish. I think it's and when Andrew was line developer, he was touting it more as steam weird. But yeah, it's kind of a story of two worlds. So you've got the Victorian era component, which is I guess more akin to your semi-standard Victorian steampunk fare, but the real conceit is this thing called the rabbit hole, which is a portal that's connected it to a world, and I can't use the word colonization anymore, can I? Because it's going to get cancelled. But anyway,
It totally is though.
It totally is though. It's a colonization of this world by our good old friends, the Victorian British Empire, except this particular world was already the home of effectively an ancient Babylonian culture that had passed through the portal centuries before and had managed to survive and keep their culture, well, I would say, relatively intact. The game kind of deals with those kinds of issues, colonization of a new world. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Maddie, if I go off track. It's been a while, but yeah. And the miniatures game is intended to basically reflect that impending, increasing conflict between two completely disparate cultures.
Yeah.
So the Babylonian or pseudo-Babylonian culture are known as the Samsut, and they rely a lot on undead, recycling bodies, and once you're dead, you don't have any use for that, but we certainly do. We can use you as a soldier, or we can just keep you going, you're busy, working on the gardens or whatever we kind of feel like. Life is sacred, but death is sacred too. So that's immediately a massive problem for the British Empire when they kind of come into contact with them. So, and they've also mastered different technologies. Anti-grav, for example, is something they've been able to do work with. So you've got this good old standard British colonial fare with a little bit of weird thrown in there as well for good good fun. But then having to deal with this kind of undead, not wholly undead, but a culture that effectively uses undead and uses a completely different type of technology and fight in completely different ways as well. So,
Yeah, right.
yeah, that's a very, 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 very shoddy overview. But
It hits the high points. High points of the published material, at least.
So is it mainly British versus the Samsung?
Samsung, yeah.
from a military perspective, yes. I mean, you could certainly, and they haven't in the material, you can certainly deal with, what's going on in quote unquote the real world, or the on Earth in that particular time period with that alternative history chain. But the beauty of fantasy games in general is that you can actually do other stuff and do stuff differently. So militarily, for the miniatures game, it's Samsat versus the British Empire, and their allies as well, and they've made different types of alliances because it's an alternative history timeline. So yeah. And then, of course, in this brave new world, there's brave new wildlife, which is particularly violent and likes to eat people. And you've got ruins and remains of ancient cultures that nobody knows anything about. You've got almost like a land grab of sorts, because people are now pushing their way through this kind of artificial tunnel, which has been anchored in place with a railway to facilitate transport between worlds. Then you've got things that actually live outside the railway that are trying to do their own thing as well. So you can kind of Swiss Army knife it and play it as a horror game, or you could play it as a traditional Victorian era steampunk game, or you could go for the whole military gamut, or you could play up the Indiana Jones style stuff, or actually more the Dr. Livingstone, I presume, type approach, exploring and finding weird stuff in the jungles, and it's really how you really want to deal with the subject matters. So.
And that's just the Gruff planet within London and the British Empire generally. You've still got the whole range of stuff you can do with Shadowrun as well.
Exactly. Just in the Victorian style.
So like crime and hijinks and theft and lots of crime. A lot of the books really slant towards the whole Shadowrun side of things in the role-playing game. I mean, it's committing crime for profit.
Capitalism.
And then you've got secret societies and mad scientists and Babbage engines and all manner of stuff. And then because it's anchored in the original Fasa cosmology, magic has effectively triggered a recessive gene in humanity, and some people have turned into orcs and trolls and elves and dwarves, etc. So that's kind of thrown a whole wedge into the, hey, hang on a minute, you're not human anymore. Well, yes, I am, but you don't look human. So you get to deal with all those kinds of topics. How you deal with that. My mum used to be human, but now she's basically got tusks growing out of her head, kind of thing. So, and that's a very Shadowrun thing as well, to be fair.
Yep. Been reading the Black Powder rules, and it's piquing my interest in other eras.
Right. I'll sign you up then.
Blast you, Dan, for giving me those bloody rules.
He is a cunning swine.
Why should I be the only one that suffers?
You are a lightning rod, after all.
That's right.
I think we've got your porn name, Rod Lightning. There you
Rod
go. Just go to work with lots of bling, dressed up like a character from Boogie Nights or something, and see if people comment. Oh, mind you, everyone's remote these days. Turn up at a Zoom meeting dressed up, playing some kind
There's a Rod Lightning.
horrible 70s. Yeah.
I have to work on the mustache a little bit.
I identify as a 70s pimp.
You know, getting a little bit non-PC here, there's this trend at the moment for people after their name to include the affectations by which they'd like to be known.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, he, him, and all that kind of stuff. I have been tempted on occasion to add to mine Sir Master. I think it'd be about funny for about 10 seconds.
The one I saw today was actually on the Babylon Bee. It was Smeagol affecting ouses, theirses. Precious.
Precious. That's brilliant. I sometimes think that as I'm
And this is no slide to anyone who wants to do that, by the way. That's
oh no, absolutely,
it doesn't do any harm.
And there's
You
there's
people want to get called it. So
there's a good reason for it, and if anybody wants to join in on that, go for it. So I will not be.
Speaks to you how much now we're a visual language, visual community rather than a verbal one, where you wouldn't introduce yourself as, "Hi, I'm Clee, him, her, him, them."
Him, them,
You know,
he,
you
him.
would just introduce yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
But now you have to look at their profile or their whatever the hell it is to understand how you can talk to them.
Yeah. And you can't make assumptions about gender and that sort of stuff anymore, because somebody may appear to be overtly male or overtly female, but they don't identify as that. So that's where the whole thing comes in. We have this issue with one of the artists working on Aetherstream. They're not of a Western background, and they have a name that is not common, and we don't actually know what gender they are.
So ask.
I'm not the one that's in communication with them, so. I've kind of inked myself into a corner.
You have, because now they have to dry.
Now they have to dry.
They look good though.
What do?
What else you got ready and primed?
Well, we can go and do some Demon World. I have some knots.
Samsung.
I don't have any. And I don't have any other 1879 either, because I have to wait for them to ship it to me. I painted the only British that I had. And I only asked them to send me that pack of British because I was having an argument with Ross about base sizes. Which I think I won. Hi, Ross.
Oh, that argument.
So I think the solution is that we just have to. I'll just have to send Maddie or my Samsung, send you or my
British.
or my British, and then you two can have it out.
The only problem I see with that plan, James, is the expectation that we're actually going to send them back.
I wouldn't expect that. I'll have a look, see what I've got. I haven't got much in those camps, but we'll have a look, see. I'm not promising anything.
You don't need to send.
I might change my mind and keep them.
You don't need to send me anything at all because Martin and Paul are my fixers for that stuff. Oh.
When you do take a look at those minis, I mean, they are seriously gorgeous. Just bare metal, they're gorgeously detailed.
Which ones are you talking about?
Oh, all of that range in general.
The 1879 stuff. Yeah.
Yes, 1879 stuff in general, gorgeous.
Yeah, I found that about.
I think the goal with the sculptor was to try and make them as detailed as possible to because Demon World is such an amazing nurtures line for the scale. It would kind of be a little disrespectful to not at least make the attempt, but I thought the sculptor did a great job with the 1879 minis, to be honest.
I agree. What were you going to say, Cleet?
I was just going to say the same with the Demon World stuff. The amount of detail in there is amazing.
Yeah. What's really interesting is that Ross's opinion is that the 1879 stuff doesn't stack up against the Dark Elves from Demon World, because the Dark Elves was amongst the last stuff that particular sculptor did. His opinion is that the Dark Elves are still ahead of the 1879 stuff, and knowing how good the 1879 stuff is, that's pretty serious. I got the green light this morning for the Goblins, so that's next, Cleet.
Cool. Goblin Army.
Yeah. Oh, I know what I can do. I don't need to start those.
You need to do giant fleas.
I'm going to. I'm actually going to distribute those giant fleas a little bit wider. Like, not necessarily the fleas per se, but the beetles. And I'm going to mix those into some of the elven factions. So you're going to have elven beetle cavalry. Because, why not?
George, Ringo, Paul, and the other one.
Is there a wood
Kate.
elf range?
Is there a wood elf range? Kate, thanks, James. Yes, there is a wood elf range. It's mixed in with the elves at the moment. They kind of split high elf, wood elf.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to just try and mix them up and down a little bit. Like, there's no wood elf dragon, but I got the high elf dragon, and I'm going to put one of the Thurgar riders on it, which is a perfectly acceptable cavalry figure. Don't see why it can't be riding a dragon. So a little bit of mixing and matching. Without,
and the appropriate colour scheme, of course, yeah.
Naturally, without really attempting to annoy Paul too much. But I figure if it sells figures, he won't stay annoyed for very long. I have had so much trouble with these. The clear resin is so hard to work with.
Yeah, man. What are you painting on it there?
Just a gloss.
Does that help clear it up?
Yeah. But it isn't perfect, and so outside later I'll take a gloss, petroleum-based gloss top coat to it, just to finish them off. I don't know if you can see the difference, if the camera is going to show you the difference. Yeah, it is. Right. You can already see what the gloss does.
Oh, yep.
Oh yeah. And that's because they're out of the resin printer. You've got to.
That's right. And they've got to go through a bathing process. You've got to put them through an isopropyl alcohol bath to get rid of the uncured resin, and then you've got to put them through a detergent bath to get rid of the rest of the isopropyl alcohol and the rest of the resin. Because if you don't do that and you just give them the isopropyl alcohol bath, they end up slightly sticky, and that's nasty for handling. So, I mean, working with these UV resins is nasty because it's just sticky stuff. It goes everywhere. It gets on everything. It stinks. It's not the most pleasant of activities. Given what you can produce, I mean,
What do you do for ventilation?
it's out in the garage. I leave the garage door open. I mean,
Oh, okay.
like, how would I have been able to produce a model like that at home by myself 5 years ago? I wouldn't have been able to.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Is that multi-part or one part?
No, it's just one part. I printed it. It's hollow. I don't know if you can see. You see the holes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's hollow. And you can do this kind of thing with it. You can go, I'm not sure what scale these miniatures should be, so just print them at different scales. Just change the scale in the slicer and away you go.
Bigger one looks nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sweet.
And I think this morning's decision, we haven't run it past Todd yet, but this morning's decision was we're actually going to go with this size for this model. So it's going to be the first 2 hex ship. So it'll be like a corvette or a gunboat or something like that. So you can see how I've painted this one at the fighter scale. This is actually what it'll become. Because at this scale next to the other miniatures, it actually doesn't look that good. So,
Yeah. Yep.
so that's I was laughing about that very early on with Ross, saying I decided that I wanted this one to be this size, and because I got my way, I have now another 10 or 15 hours work to produce another model to replace it. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch. All sorts of, I mean, aside from all of the rubbish that happened at work, all sorts of interesting good stuff did happen this week. My new train set controller turned up, which I'm very pleased about.
Jealous.
Looking forward to playing with that. Added bonus, Clee, was this one has the USB connection built in. So it can,
I did see it had USB on the box
yeah,
there.
can plug it straight in.
Ah, okay, so I was going to ask you, because that thing controls trains, lights, points, the whole deal, right?
All of it.
Now, is that what you were saying where it implements JNRI or something like that?
So JNRI will talk to LocoNet, and this is a LocoNet device.
And is that what you were telling me to do? Is if I build a JNRI interface
Mm-hmm.
between my servos and then I can actually connect them up to that?
That's right. Then you can run the whole layout using JNRI.
Yeah, because that'd be ideal that I don't have to write the software to control them.
Mm-hmm.
Because all I really wanted to do was write the software to control the servo, not to control the points
Yeah. Well,
and all the different layouts and stuff like that.
yeah. No, you just implement the interface that it understands, and then you can run the whole lot using JNRI. I don't know that that'll necessarily be trivial, but still.
No, it's not. I looked at the interface. It's a fucking pig. It's Java. Best career decision ever, moving away from Java.
Hey, we're all going to Rust, man. Rust is the future. We're all going to Rust.
I'm going rusty. But I've got time.
Oh, goodness me.
I'm a Java boy. I'm just going to shut up.
Me too, James. That's fine. But I am thoroughly appreciating C# 9 at the moment. There's some syntactic sugar in that is just beautiful.
It's so sad that I don't even get time to look at that shit these days.
Mm-hmm. The only time you get to read that is when I'm philosophizing with the rest of the development team.
Yeah, the same with Oleg. I'm like, how the fuck do you find time to go and look at all the new features? Obviously, your day job is not busy enough.
Well, I know he does that in the evenings.
Yeah, I suppose.
He spends from 8 p.m. till 1 a.m. or something like that. Programming and stuff.
Must have a very understanding life.
I found that a lot of developers don't catch up, which just leads to different kinds of problems, but that's just a thing, particularly offshore. So
Yeah, well, I mean, look, in this case, I don't fret so much about it because the difference between C# 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, unless it's major and we're adopting a change that's, like I said, a major change, the syntactic sugar is just that. So
Yep.
as long as you have good dev skills, doesn't matter whether you space that shit out over 30 lines or write it in one great big dirty line because of some sugar. As long as it's the same performance and testability and stuff like that.
Well, I think what I'm highlighting at the moment, particularly in the dev teams on both sides of the pond, is that they're actually not writing good code.
Yeah, exactly. Since sugar aside, they're just not writing good code.
Mm-hmm.
it's quality. Yep.
And what's worse, James, is that they don't understand how to. They're coming out of university having been taught how to write JavaScript, and they're trying to apply all of those lessons to .NET runtimes. And we're like, this doesn't work for these reasons. And they're like, oh. So,
Yeah, most of my past life is basically troubleshooting, leaky, what turns out usually to be leaky code,
mm-hmm.
and then proving that it's the code, and then trying to find out what the hell's going on. Needles and haystacks.
You know that information technology archaeology is now a thing. You can get job as an information systems archaeologist.
It's actually a thing?
It's a thing.
Interesting. I'll have to look at that.
Information systems archaeologist. So you go into a place that has a legacy system, and you're the person that needs to go digging through it to figure out why it was put together the way it was put together.
There you go.
So it's a thing. Well, my cunning plan of doing all those bases and hoping that stuff was dry by the time I did all the bases has been foiled. So I guess I'm doing the demod stuff after all. It's up past 9. Might call it there.
Last night already.
Yeah. So this is...
The kids are chomping at me.
You haven't fed them to anything either.
No, I haven't, and I think they were going to feed themselves, and they didn't, obviously,
Right.
and hence they're
Mm.
digging at the moment.
So here's where we've ended up. We've got 2 colours and a wash. what I'm going to do over the course of the rest of the day, aside from drilling holes in cupboards and laundries and things like that, I'm going to finish these off, and then I'm going to put a post up into some forums on Facebook, just socializing them with the rest of the world to say, hey, what do you think of these? So I'll keep you guys in the loop as well, so that you can voice your opinion, because I would appreciate it if I could have an opinion. Yeah.
Good man.
Looks good. That's good.
So once again, thanks for joining. Really appreciate the company. These sessions go very, very quickly. I don't know if anybody's caught on to that.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
Yeah. And last week, what time did we finish last week? It was 10:10 or something. So
About that.
about that. Good stuff. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy your weekend when you get there, James.
Take care, team.
Yep.
Have a good one. Regards to
There
your
you go.
families as well.
Yeah. See you guys next week.
Thanks for having us.
No worries. See you guys.